What's up, guys, and welcome back to Bolton Brook Outdoors. Today we're doing something a little different. So I've been feeling a certain type of way about trying to do some different kind of content that I normally post on than I normally post, whatever the verbiage is on that. Something different than what I normally post on this channel. On Bolton Brook Outdoors, it's always just fishing, hunting, that kind of stuff, which it will continue to be. But something I've been really struggling with is there's a lot of misinformation, right? I know in my bio on YouTube mentions, what's the exact quote? Basically, trying to live in God's creation, right? So I allude to the fact that I'm a Christian, right? I'm a Bible-believing Christian. Let's put it like that. I guess technically speaking, I'm a Baptist, I've always grown up in Baptist church. Doesn't make you a Christian. I'll get into that more. I don't know what the right word is. I see things differently now. I'm still 100% a Christian. But the thing is, though, I've gotten stronger, much stronger than I ever have been. My want for learning has become something brand new. My want for truth, my want for justice has become something brand new. Like, I always knew these morals. I knew what was right, I knew what was wrong. I know what the Bible says is true because it is God's word given to us. It is an infallible book. There is not a sentence in that book that can be refuted or that can be proven wrong. Impossible. I believe that with all my heart. And that if you give your heart to God, meaning you acknowledge you're a sinner and ask Jesus to live in your heart and save you from your sins, then you will be saved and you will be in paradise with God, right? That's the simple gospel, right? That is the simplest possible thing about the Bible, right? It is so difficult to find people who truly understand just the basics of what the book says, right? I go back to the book a lot because it's our only source of truth, right? Are there other things that are true in the world? Yeah. But is the one source that can never be false something you should go back to? I would say so. If you have a baseline of absolute truth, anything else can be true, but this is the go-to, right? I mean, not here, you go back to this. That's just it's just the only thing that makes sense, right? The Bible even tells us to be strong in the faith, to have a defense for the faith. Let's see, let's go right into it. Here we go. 1 Peter 3:15. But in your hearts, honor Christ the Lord as holy, always being prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you, yet do it with gentleness and respect. That's as simple as it. I mean, that's literally it right there, guys, right? It literally tells you right here in 1 Peter to be ready to give an answer for the hope that is within you. What is that hope that is within us? That's Jesus. Jesus is the hope that is within us. It literally tells us to be ready to defend our faith. And it doesn't say to do it yelling and screaming at people like some of these people do who just make Christianity look even worse. What does it say to do it with? Yet, do it with gentleness and respect. How do you expect to get respect from somebody if you're not giving them respect, right? So if I want to have a conversation with you about Christianity, about the gospel, about basically the option that God gives us to reject him or obey him, right? That's what it all breaks down to, right? Me talking to someone about that, but me getting all fired up and yelling and telling them they're going to hell because they're horrible people. Now, I'm not saying you cannot use hell as a basis for teaching, because it absolutely is. God used it. Jesus used it. They talk about these things. These are not bad things, but it's how you do it with gentleness and respect. If I'm not being respectful of you, I'm cutting you off while we're talking. How do I expect to get respect back, right? That's the whole same thing with turn the other cheek, right? The reason they even talk about that in the Bible is because what it is demonstrating is ending the cycle, right? You punch me, I punch you, the cycle continues. You punch me back, I punch you back, right? It just keeps going. With turning the other cheek, you have ended the cycle. Same thing here with respect. If you are not offering someone the respect enough, even if they're living in sin, even if they are the most horrible people, they are doing everything wrong, they are fully rejecting their creator, even then, we are still to give them the respect enough to talk to them like another image bearer of God, because that's what they are. No one is ever too late until they have left this earth. So the main reason I wanted to do this today is to really get in here and break down something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. So today I wanted to talk about abortion. Abortion's a huge thing right now, right? Everyone's screaming about it. Everybody's getting upset about it. People, that's one of the main things that people want to talk about, argue about. People get the most livid over basically two things. That's LGBTQ, whatever all that is, and abortion. You want to find the biggest screamers that exist in the world? That's where you go. It's incredible. Those people like to yell and scream over something they don't even have facts for, which is what we're going to do today. That's the best part of all this, right? So we're going to go into some articles that people have written about abortion. That is basically how to defend abortion, right? How to defend your pro-life argument or pro-choice argument, whatever it is. I don't even know anymore. All right, so I really want to get into this. Let's see what we can find. All right, let's see what we got here. So, from the Daily Illini, whatever. It's the independent student newspaper at the University of Illinois. Shocker, it's Illinois, right? Very, very corrupt state as of this time. But what do we got for the title here? Because we're going to be looking for the fallacies, we're going to be looking for inconsistencies, and we're going to need facts, right? You cannot make a claim and then not back it up. That's my main thing, right? So we're going to go through here. This is something they published to the public. So I'm expecting to find something in here that is going to change my view. So let's get into it. Opinion. Counters to common pro-life arguments. It's a good title. It's a good title. You know, you see right here, we have a nice little abortion march, pro-choice march here. Gotta love it. All right, so by Senshira Tika, columnist, I'm probably just made that sound super racist. I don't even really care. It doesn't. I just said the name how it sounded. As of Friday, a group of unelected officials made a decision ripping away a person's rights to choose, the right to an abortion, albeit the fact that up to 61% of Americans support abortion in most cases. There is still around 39% of Americans who are opposed to the freedom of choice to have an abortion. Number one, where are you getting this statistic, right? I'm going to need some kind of, these are college kids, right? These are college kids. They need to be able to put this into some kind of framework to where you have to, just so it's not plagiarism, simple as that. How are you coming up with this statistic? Is this your statistic? 61% believe that abortion is fine. 39% oppose it. Where do you get that statistic? I want that somewhere in here. You normally would drop it in right afterwards. Statistic from da 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 da. Why is there no like link? Why is there nothing? We just have a claim. That's the claim. 39% of Americans are opposed to the, check that word, freedom of choice to have an abortion. All right, let's keep going. Abortion is often misunderstood, and this confusion can be reason why some call themselves pro-life. Pro-life people often think that they are genuinely holding the correct beliefs and that abortion is literally murder. So that's another claim. Pro-lifers believe that abortion is literally murder. I would agree with that statement. Absolutely. But that's another claim. Another claim. That's like probably the first claim I would agree with. But moving on. Nevertheless, every pro-life argument has a stronger counter-argument. So there's a third claim, right? First claim, this is the number of people who think that abortion's wrong. Here's what they believe. And here's how we're right. All right, there's your three claims. Let's go into it and see. Let's see what they got, right? Number one, abortion is plain murder. I'm interested to see how they're going to counteract this, but let's see. Let's go through it. First, understand that this is a stance that is incredibly hard to change in itself because pro-lifers believe it to be fact. Pro-lifers fully believe that abortion is murder. So no argument about control over uterus holding people will work to change this belief. Okay? No, my clicky. So they're immediately taking the high road of basically this is going to be impossible to change people's mind because they're just so set on it. They just, even people who are, what was the word they used? What was it? Uterus holding people, meaning females, right? But if you notice, they can no longer use the word I'm a woman now because then you have to define what a woman is. So they have to use uterus holding people, right? mean, call them what they are. They're women, right? If you have a uterus, you're a woman. Okay? Let's keep going. Yeah. What can be used in the argument of bodily anatomy, especially the analogy of organ donation? Most people understand that a person has the right to decide whether or not they want their organs to be donated. And this isn't a controversial option. Even if someone's organs could have been used to save another person's life, we don't consider that to be murder if the person has chosen not to donate organs. In a similar sense, it doesn't make sense to force a person with a uterus to give their organs and body to a fetus. Interesting. So that's their, okay. So what is the claim for it is not murder, right? The claim is it's murder. How do you fix it, right? All of us nasty pro-lifers, it's abortion, plain murder. Okay, how do we disprove that? How do we disprove that? All right, what do? They go in here and they use the counter argument of, well, if you don't want to be an organ donor, but someone might die because you did not give them an organ, how dare you? You murdered them is the implication here, right? Even if someone's organ could have been used to save another person's life, we don't consider that to be murder if the person has chosen not to donate organs, right? First off, the biggest thing about any argument ever is it's so simple. It's the easiest thing. Take emotion out of the situation is the number one thing you do. Then find your fallacies. What is a fallacy? This is a complete fallacy, because donating someone's organs, which what was the tie-in word they used? It doesn't make sense to force a person with a uterus to give their organs and body to a fetus. To give their organs and body to a fetus. So now they've changed the baby into a monster that is there to destroy their organs and body. How dare you why are you making me give my body over to this little monster that will kill me is the implication, right? And I can't even give you a good reason why they went with the organ donation road here. I can't even explain to you how this makes sense, because it doesn't. They're two completely separate topics that don't relate in any way. The only relation they try to do it doesn't make sense to force a person with a uterus to give their organs and body to a fetus. Okay, let's start over here. How does the baby, because it's not just a fetus, it is a living human. It is a baby human, little human. How does the little human get inside a woman? Okay, I'm fairly certain we all took biology. So we know how the baby got there. So I don't think the baby is like a tapeworm that just showed up one day out of the clear blue. You had no idea, and it just attacked, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's taking over my body. It's killing me. That's not what happened, ladies and gentlemen. That's not what happened at all. Through your own sexual desires, you placed a baby, not a fetus, into your body. It did not show up. You put that there. And it is a living human being. It is not a monster there to destroy your organs and body. And this contradiction of two statements makes no sense. Do you see how stupid this is? And how there's zero argument? That I can't even, I'm trying to figure out a way I can relate an organ donation, someone who doesn't want to give their organ away, to someone who has a baby. I can't even relate it. I'm trying really hard to make this work, but it just doesn't. There's no way this works. Oh my gosh. They're college kids. Whatever. Let's keep going. I'm still holding them accountable for this because I'm college age. I'm literally just turned 21. I'm smack in the middle of college years. One of my own. All right. While many pro-lifers believe this, their actions don't show it. For one, if they eat meat or kill bugs, they're literally ending life on a daily basis. These actions show that they understand the complexity of life and that it is not all the same. So here's where they're changing it, right? First, they went from it's no different organ donation, now it's destroying my body, to, well, how dare you pro-lifers? You destroy life every day. So here's where we have to do some critical thinking and bringing in some scripture, right? First off, God gave us dominion over the animals. Because if you look, what they're trying to do here is put us all on the same level. So they're trying to put animals and humans on the same level here. We're not, because we are not animals. So this is all going to go back to an evolutionary worldview. Because from the evolutionary worldview, how dare you step on an ant? That could eventually evolve into a human or something. Or how dare you eat meat? That's another one of animal kind, which we are part of. So what are you going to do? I get this statement makes perfect sense if you have a twisted worldview. But if we go by the Bible, let's see what it says. First, let's go to Genesis 1, I think it's 26. Let's just look and see. Genesis 1, let's see. Was I right on that? 26? Yes, there it is. Then God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. You can see right there the separation between animals, birds, fish, creeping things, excuse me. You can see the separation right there. We're not on the same level. And God put us with dominion over the fish of the sea, the birds of the heavens, yada, 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 yada. Dominion. You know what? Let's do this. What are we going to do? We are going to search the word dominion. We're going to really dig in here. What do we got? Control or the exercise of control. Sovereignty. You're sovereign. Okay. Pretty straightforward. Dominion over the fish of the sea. So there is a difference between human and animal. So you stepping on an ant is not the same as you stepping on a small baby. Completely different. And again, a very wicked thing to say. If you're in America, you have heard scripture. How dare you compare an animal to the likeness of God? Because he made humans in his image. I mean, that's absurd. Absolutely absurd. Also, y'all want a little bonus? You want a little bonus? A little bonus verse? Let's check out good old... Oh, I didn't get it all. Check out, Genesis 1:27. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. First off, it goes with the verse I was just talking about very well. Going into the image that God made us in. And how there's a separation between animal and human, right? Very big deal. Something else that's interesting, which we'll get into a different video. Male and female, he created them. We'll get into that to another video. Believe me. All right, let's get back into it. So this is done. We just destroyed that. There's a complete separation. Their own argument doesn't make sense because they're like, how did Kibbuck do literally any life on a daily basis? These actions show that they understand the complexity of life and that it is not all the same. You're right. It does show that there's a difference because there's a difference in humans and animals. So this statement actually makes sense because when they step on an ant, they're like, oh, okay. Because it's an animal. We have dominion over the animals. We have the ability to hunt the animals for food. We don't step on a baby. It's a human life. So you're right. There is a complexity of life and that it's not all the same. Now they're going to spin this to the fetus is different. Now that statement I agree with. Now how they spin it, that's something completely different. But let's just keep reading. I'm getting too excited here. A common counter argument is the idea of potential. Pro-lifers might say that human fetuses are intelligent and have potential, but animals don't, which unlocks a new set of inconsistencies in their reasoning. All right, please tell me we get into these inconsistencies. All right, for one, studies have shown that pigs and other animals have intelligence levels comparable to young children. Okay, that's not even close. Okay, well, I can't stop. Let's keep going. So in that case, they shouldn't be eating animals if life is life. Okay, first off. Life is life. It's a very interesting statement. First off, I've never heard a pro-life person say life is life. Because it contradicts themselves on so many levels. But fine, if we want to say life is life, it's a dumb tagline. But let's just say we're going to use it, right? Life is life. I get people don't run on all cylinders nowadays, and that they don't like to look stuff up or have any, what's the right word here? Concept of an argument or, context for any situation. Okay, just go into it here. I'm not even going to talk about this one because that's just so dumb. But animals don't, because animals aren't people. We're not saying animals aren't intelligent. We're saying animals are animals. They're not the same. It's completely different. Studies have showed that pigs and other animals have intelligence levels comparable to young children, so that in the case, they shouldn't be eating animals if life is life. Okay, guess what? A pig's a pig. A pig is there. You know what a pig wants to do? You know what all animals want to do? They want to survive. They want to eat. They want to sleep. They want to drink water. And they want to procreate. That is what they are designed to do, and they are to do it with no moral objection to anything. Pigs, they eat each other. Okay? I don't believe there's any consensual procreation happening. They'll drink the blood of something else dead. They don't care what it is. So this argument is like the dumbest argument ever. Like, why would you bring up pigs? That's so stupid. Oh my gosh, such a dumb argument. It just hurts me. Like, if you actually sit here and break down stuff like this. This was top results, by the way. If you search this, you're going to see this exact same thing by the Daily Illini, whatever. You're going to see this. It's like top results when I searched it today. Top results. Like, this is the first thing that pops up, and it has no... I almost want to say intelligence levels because it's what the word I was thinking of, and I read it at the same time. There is nothing intelligent about this argument. Nothing. And then they try to make a big point right here about hitting you so hard. If life is life. They don't even understand the argument that they're making. Like, I get hindsight's 2020, but if they just looked at this for just a second, it's like they didn't proofread it. It's what it really feels like, to be honest with you. Or more importantly, what everyone does nowadays, you just didn't do any research. All right, let's keep going. Additionally, they're likely not advocating against the death penalty, guns, or actively trying to prevent suicide. However, mentioning this would probably elicit to a defense response because nobody likes being called out of their blatant hypocrisy. There's a lot to break down there. There's like 30 different things to break down there. So, they make a stupid claim here, and they base things off of a bad claim. So that's one thing you can do is if you make one bad claim, you can just keep snowballing that bad claim as long as you want to. Because at that point, it doesn't really matter, right? After you've changed the base, you can just roll with it, and it's just fine, You just keep going. Additionally, they're not advocating against the death penalty. Of course not. The death penalty is completely needed. You kill someone, you get killed back. That is called justice. Happened in the Old Testament. God killed plenty of people for doing less. Guns. That's not even I don't even know what that argument's against. It's just simply guns. We shouldn't have guns apparently, but they've never read the Second Amendment, which is what our country's, founded on. Whatever. Or actively trying to prevent suicide. Suicide awareness. Extremely important. But you know what's the best suicide awareness? Teaching people that they have a purpose on this planet, that they were put here for a reason, that God made every single one of them special, And he asks them to simply pick up their cross and follow him. It's that simple. That's the best suicide prevention you can ever have. That there's a loving God who cares about you more than anything else and simply wants you to follow him. That's all he asks. He made you. He made everything around you. And he daily is with you. He's always there. Always. He is omnipresent. God's there with you. Always. Even when it's the worst of the worst. The Bible tells us that you will endure suffering. Suffer in my name. It literally talks about that all throughout the Bible. So for us to not expect to encounter suffering is insanity. You're going to encounter suffering. But there's a loving God who's there to help you get through it. And there is a reason for every trial we go through. God has some reason. He's strengthening you. There is something there. There's no accidents because God didn't mess something up. There's not something slightly wrong that God did wrong. We as people, as humans, we went against God. Sin entered the world. God didn't create sin. We created sin. God made a perfect world with no impurities. We changed that perfect world. It's that simple. It's that simple. That's the best suicide prevention, is that there's a loving God that no matter what happens on this earth, no matter what happens, there's a loving God who has made a heaven for you to live with him forever. And there's a simple way to do it. And then however mentioning this would probably elicit, I don't know how to spell. Elicit a defense response because nobody likes being called out on their blatant hypocrisy. Agreed. If I was talking to this person in person, they would be very upset by the stuff I've said to them. Calling this Bologna, saying this is Bologna, saying uterus, people, you're just women. You're a woman. I'm a man. Want to know the definition of a woman? Someone who has a uterus. A female. That is a woman. It's that simple, people. It is that simple. Moving on. This was just a super dumb one. This one made no sense. Like this one, I gave more respect because they actually put a little bit of work into it. This one, they started off with something that made no sense, trying to act like they made a point here. This entire sentence here actually is a point I believe in. There are differences in life. The complexity of life is different. There are different. Animal life is different than human life. 100%. I agree with this statement. But then they act like that really proved us wrong for the rest of their entire case. Okay, point 3. What if the baby grew up to cure cancer or was the next president? While this is definitely possible, the same can be said of the person forced to carry term. What if the 12-year-old forced to have a baby would have grown up to do these things herself, but couldn't because they were carrying a baby? Or what if the middle-aged person was in the midst of doing these things, but was halted by having a baby? Alternatively, what if the baby grew up to be the exact opposite and committed horrible crimes? These what-ifs can be applied to literally anything because this line of argument rides on logical fallacy. That's kind of a bold claim. That's a bold claim. They want to lean into the logical fallacy side of this. Let's lean into it. Let's really break through that. So first off, they completely acknowledge that, yes, this baby could be something. Also, do you see this verbiage here? This verbiage is making me all excited. See this word baby? This is the argument of the anti-abortion person. Here's the argument of the pro-abortion person. I see the word baby. I see the word baby. They kind of played their hand. They're calling it a baby. They done messed up. Because if the other side of this argument commits to the bit and says they are a baby, then guess what? They have truly shown how evil and satanic this entire thing is. If they agree it's a baby, which they have, right here, baby, you're calling it a baby. Like, oh my gosh. Do you understand how horrible that is? I would prefer for them to keep calling it a fetus. because then I can act like they're just in denial, right? This isn't denial. This is pure murder at this point, right? I'll agree with this statement. They always just say it's plain murder, because it is. How else do you explain this? Do you see? Oh my gosh, this is like disgusting. Okay, well, this is definitely possible. Someone can be led to force someone who carries term, yada, yada, yada. This whole section right here, point 3, this whole thing is, okay, so what if we're killing the baby? It could be a horrible person. Okay, so, okay, that's the what if. Okay, what if the person who had to carry this baby could have been that same thing, but the baby messed it up? You know what that comes down to? Be responsible for your own orgasms, okay? That's what this comes down to. And they tried to lean into the 12-year-old thing here, so they're trying to lean into like the rape side of it. Bologna. If you look at the statistics, which I actually can give you statistics for, these statistics of how many rape victims are part of the abortion train is extremely low. And we go off of exactly what Bible says. Exodus 20, 10 commandments. We'll just go down here. Exodus 20, verse 13 says, you shall not murder. So according to the Bible, which is the word of God, the absolute truth, if you believe that, then you have to be anti-abortion. There's no other way around it. You cannot argue the Bible as pro-abortion. It's impossible. You shall not murder. Right here, they played their hand. This whole point 3 is disgusting. Now, I get it's a bunch of what ifs, so they're trying to write it as the thing of, oh, it's just logical fallacy. No, it's not. Fine, yes, we can play the what if game, but guess what? How about, let's go to this one, or what if the middle-aged person was in the midst of doing these things but was halted by having a baby? Maybe the middle-aged person shouldn't have been having sex. How about that? If you're so just engulfed by your career that you're about to push presidency, you're about to push the cure of cancer, you're about to push all these things, and you don't want to have a baby because you're in the middle of life right now. You are just trying to get this. You are so concrete. You are ready. You are just pushing your career. Then why are you having sex, girl? Why? Oh, because it feels good? Oh, because you like all these other aspects of sex? Okay, that's great. Love that for you. Guess what? You're going to have a baby then, girl. You know what that means? You have to be responsible. You have to be responsible for your own orgasms. Isn't that crazy? It's kind of like this is a Christian channel here, so we're going to do the screw around and find out chart, right? So this is the screw around side and this is the find out side, right? So the more you screw around, the more you find out, right? Does that make sense? Am I making that, clear as mud for y'all? If you have sex, expect a baby. It's kind of how it works. If you don't want a baby, then don't have sex. I feel like this is not that hard to understand. Like, oh my gosh. I can't be the only one, right? Please tell me there's someone else out here who just understands that this whole section right here is just gobbledygook. It's just so dumb. It makes no sense, right? None of this, I can't get rid of it. There we go. None of this makes any sense right there, right? Like someone else has to understand that. This whole thing doesn't even make sense. This whole line doesn't make sense. Because already hundreds of kids, thousands of kids in foster care, if this statement is true, then this number should be zero. It would be zero. Not true. Because of the sins and the horrible parenting of people who don't want to be responsible for their orgasms, but don't want to kill their child, or probably better yet, the mother has the child and the dad runs out because he doesn't want to be responsible. He runs out. And now you're stuck with a baby. And you don't want it. You can't deal with it. Maybe you're in a bad situation. You don't want it. What do? You put it in foster care. Okay. So you just created a cycle. Right? Because you're not responsible, you had to put responsibility on someone else. So now, how does this cycle end? They now blame the people who want to save human life That's how dare you look at me when I'm trying to kill something. Why don't you go get some kid out of foster care first? It's literally a catch-22. That doesn't make sense. Why does one have to presuppose the other? That doesn't make any sense. They're not arguing that they shouldn't get kids out of foster care. What they're arguing is that you're going to end a human life. Those kids in foster care are alive and fed. Now, are they in the best scenarios? No, most of them are not. But those kids are alive. You're trying to end the life of one. So they're like, look, I'll just take it. I'll pay the money to take this kid. I'll just take this baby. Now, I love it. They go into this whole thing of adoption and how they all just want white kids and they don't want any colored kids because the colored kids make up most of the foster cares. And then they go into the system and all this stuff. Again, not disagreeing that the system's not great. The system's not great for adoption. The system's not great for foster care. I agree. But that doesn't change the fact that you're murdering a baby. And that all this statement is there are so many people who want a child because they just want this kid. And I'm sure, by the way, if this wasn't a big deal, if people weren't murdering babies every single day, there'd probably be more kids getting adopted from foster care. Why? Because now you've taken out one venue of where all these just stray children are coming from. If you get rid of abortion, no more abortions happen. Hey, now we're going to put more kids in foster care. Okay. That means more people are going to get adopted from foster care because now that's where all the attention is. Or better yet, stop putting your kids in foster care. Better yet, stop having sex when you shouldn't be having sex. Be responsible. It's like this is so hard to understand, but then they blame the pro-lifers. Like this whole concept doesn't make sense. No, is this a compelling argument? Absolutely. It hits you hard. This is an emotional argument. Remember, always separate the emotion from the argument. What is the emotion's going to hurt in this one? This one hurts emotionally. It sticks you good. It sticks you. But you have to separate it. What is the separation? All they're telling us is that there's kids in foster care, and if these people truly just want a kid, why don't you go get one from foster care? Now, what does that change about you murdering your baby? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And who are you to say that this person doesn't already have a kid that they adopted from foster care and they just want another one? Maybe they're parents who can't have babies. I unfortunately know a few couples who, unfortunately, God has never blessed them with the ability to have a baby. So this is what they want to do. They're looking at the adoption. They're looking at getting kids out of foster care. They're looking at all these things, but they want to presuppose that how dare you question me when there's other kids in foster care? The argument itself doesn't make sense. Like, what? It's okay. I don't even know what to say. Like, it doesn't make sense, y'all. So you're telling me I should care more about the kids getting fed than the one you're about to get ripped out of its mother's womb with utensils and machines trying to remove the baby from a mother's womb. I should care more about the kids that are already being taken care of, I guess. Do you see the fallacies, people? Do you see them? All right, last one. Point 5. What if your parents aborted you? I wouldn't be alive, so I wouldn't care. I wouldn't be having another. What if argument based on logical fallacy? Even after using all these arguments and more, a pro-lifer will still not be convinced and might maintain their beliefs. Yet, having the argument or conversation means that all sides of the argument have been made clear. Only with arguments and conversation are we able to see the entire picture, and maybe in the process have one review their beliefs. Now, this last statement I could not agree with more. I love that. That's my biggest thing. Let's have these conversations, right? Because you never know if someone might change. I agree with that statement. Now, not in the way that they want you to believe it. They want you to say, oh, Look at all of our fallacy and see how we're right in that you should just kill your baby. It doesn't make sense, y'all. I don't understand it. I probably never will. This last one is not even an argument because it's a very fair question that a lot of pro-lifers ask. So what if your parents aborted you? And again, they answered it semi-consistently. I wouldn't be alive, so I wouldn't care. And I wouldn't be having another what if argument based on logical fallacy. They try to really slap you with that last one. Oh, I wouldn't be alive and I wouldn't have to deal with another stupid, unintelligent pro-lifer like you. That's what this all boils down to. Oh, man. Bro, these kids need prayer. Like, these college kids, I say kids because that's just what sounds right in my brain. People my age, everyone in the colleges who are just being force-fed all this balagna that makes no sense. None of it makes any sense. Man, these are people in college, y'all. They're at the University of Illinois. Now, I get Illinois is not like probably the best colleges. I don't know. I've never been there. But I'm just having to assume, like, holy crap. Like, gosh, dang. Like, how bad is it? Like, do they not learn anything about just like... They try to play the card of, oh, we understand logic and fallacy by throwing it in here and throwing it in here about the whole what if argument. The what if argument is not simply... It is not fully even a logical fallacy. The reason that pro-lifers use a what if argument is to simply show you the consequences of your actions. So by definition, it's not a logical fallacy. Now you can play it out like a chess game and already know the ending, and it's just gonna keep going, right? You're gonna be like, okay, so the what ifs go what if, and yeah, eventually it's gonna end in a logical fallacy. The reason they're even using it is showing you how the consequences meet your actions. You are not married and you are having sex, not planning for a baby. Again, outside of the laws that God has set forward for us. Sex is supposed to be between one man, one woman, for life in marriage. That's what it's supposed to be for. And that you expect to not have a baby is incredible. I understand birth control. Like, I'm not trying to act like we're in the Middle Ages where that just doesn't exist. I completely understand the idea of birth control. But why do you think that there's not some way that it could happen? Or better yet, the people who aren't on birth control and all these other things who just roll with it. They're just going to go for it. And then when it happens, it's like, this is going to ruin my life. I'm going to have to drop out of college. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you probably will. And you're going to have to get 3 jobs. And if your man isn't scummy, he's going to stick beside you. You two need to get married. And guess what? He needs to get 3 jobs. And you're going to work your tail off. That's the unfortunate. Guess what? Actions meet the consequences. You weren't being smart because you didn't drink all your smart water. So here comes a baby because you weren't paying attention. And now you're going to have to care for that baby. That's how this ends, people. This cycle, it all ends with being responsible. I love it how they didn't even acknowledge the murder thing anymore. That's the biggest thing. Like all these other ones, let's see. This one. Again, what does this have to do with abortion? What does this have to do with abortion? This one has to do with abortion? Oh my goodness, I did it again. So this one right here has to do with abortion. This one does. And this one does. So I get these are just arguments to things that pro-lifers say and not their actual arguments themselves. Like these are not a pro-choice argument. These are counter arguments, right? So they're not the ones making the claim, right? So they're putting the burden of proof on the person who made the statement, right? That's how they're trying to do this. Understandably so. That's fair. But again, this doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make sense. The best thing to know about this argument is if you ever get into a conversation with someone who is pro-choice, just know it's like watching a checkers game. You're going to move, they're going to move, you're going to move, they're going to move, you're going to move, they're going to move, and eventually all your pieces are going to be moved and the game is going to be over. And if you know any facts at all, pro-life is going to win every time. Now, again, I agree with them. They're going to get upset. They're going to not, what was the word they used? Might not be convinced and might maintain their beliefs. Because literally, I love their sentence in the end there. This entire paragraph here is amazing. I completely agree with everything about it, except we're just going to change that little pro-lifer to pro-choicer. Because they don't have anything to stand on. What they're based on doing is killing a baby. Now they can talk about how I don't even know what the rest of this was about. It's so dumb. It all comes down to you're killing a baby, right? Scientifically, you're killing a baby. And they can call it a fetus if they want to. It is a small human, and you're killing it. That baby doesn't have consent. It doesn't have a way to tell you, please don't kill me. So why don't we let it get old enough to be able to tell you that, please don't, thank you for not killing me. Why doesn't it get a chance to live? And that's the whole thing of, well, your parents what if your parents aborted you? And then that's there, because another argument they use all the time is, well, you weren't aborted, so you got the chance to live. So isn't that pretty cool for you? Which is similar to that last argument. You got to live, you got to see life. You murder something, it doesn't get to do that. It's so absurd, right? I have to admit, one of the simplest things to argue in the entire world is the argument of abortion. There's not much to it. It really isn't. You're killing a baby, and you can back it up with almost, there's so many verses in the Bible you can just back it up with. Like, I only pulled probably, 2, 3 at most, because you don't need to. There's not much there to, all these are just dumb counter arguments for something that doesn't have to do with abortion itself. So I do thank you for watching this video and hope you have a great day. Don't forget to pray for the independent student newspaper at the University of Illinois. These people need prayer very badly. Sanchita Tika, pray for, I'm assuming it's a her. Pray for her. Pray for her heart to be changed. And pray that she goes back into that newspaper as a columnist and puts in something else. But this time, something for saving the life of children. Let's pray for that. Wouldn't that be crazy? We look back at this and there's something new. And it's the same person praising God and truly upset about what they've done. Wouldn't that be amazing? Thank you so much for watching. Hope you all have a wonderful day. And this is Mr. Po Boy signing off. Thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen.